Hi everyone, my name is Jane Leckert, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the communication theory of identity. Communication is a very significant part of human existence. It is the means by which identity is established and the mechanisms by which our identity can change as well. Our communication is learned through relationships with orientational others. These relationships are typically parents, siblings, and close family members who are around us from our very early years and help craft our identity and the means by which we express ourselves and the people we believe we are. When we're children, we learn how to communicate to others. And we learn how, through our communication, we can predetermine the outcome for what we want. When we communicate, there are 4 stages of communications. The 4 stages are identity, translation, persuasion, and justification. Identification is how we want to be able to identify with the listener. Translation is the context of the communication that we want understood by the individuals to whom we are talking to, how we want them to understand our message. Persuasion is the ideas are presented in a way that has a persuasive element that tends to try to get the other people to see what we think and why, perhaps, most times it's better. Justification is being able to answer the question of why our ideas should be accepted, being able to provide good feedback for why we think our ideal is the best one there's out there. Within an identity, there are several different dimensions that make up who we are. The 2 main dimensions are the subjective dimension, which is how we see ourselves, and the ascribed dimension, which is how others see us. These 2 dimensions are very important, and they interact together, or layers, there is additional layers that interact together to help craft and make who we are. The different levels of personalities that we have are personal. We define ourselves through this view, this layer. Enactment, it is how we communicate our identity to others, how our message is given out and what we want to say. Our relational is how we attach ourselves in relationships with others. The relational layer of our personality is the most complex layer. This is where we define who we are in relationships with others at different points. We can define who we are as a group and what the group thinks of us. And so, for instance, if a group thinks you're funny, often you're going to believe you're funny. If a group thinks you're boring, whether you really believe that or not, you're going to start believing that you're boring. Through the relational layer, you can also develop your identity through relationships. For instance, if somebody were to ask me who I am, my answer at this layer would be, I am a mom. I am a program manager. I am a baseball mom. Those various things. I'm relating to who I am in my relationships with others and where I am. The last level of layer of relational personalities that we have would be the relationships we view as a unit. The first example that came to mind when I was reading this was Brangelina, which the media has coined from Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. 2 separate individuals, 2 separate identities, yet they've been put together as one unit, and now we have Brangelina. Another part of establishing our identity is that we can see through is the social cultural tradition, and it gives us another perspective to look at and help us attempt to explain how through our interactions with others we learn who we are as human beings. This tradition states that our differences are socially constructed, not biologically constructed. Our identities are constructed through our interactions with others, not defined who we are before we were born. We have the opportunity to create and craft who we are. It's not predetermined. Individuals all possess unique character traits, and these help define who we are. Another important part in the study of identity is the communication theory of identity. And through this communication, we are able to display different portions of our identity. Michael Haidt, Distinguished Professor of Communication Arts and Sciences at Penn State University, and some of his colleagues describe the different dimensions that go into the communication theory of identity. Those dimensions would be your feelings, your thoughts, your acts, and your sense of relationship to the transcendent. All of these together help craft the dimension that we feel our communication is involved with. One of the key people who really helped people figure out and understand the importance of our identity and being real with ourselves and to others was Sydney Gerard. In his book, The Transparent Self, disclosing man to himself and healthy personalities, believed that people could increase their inner strength by being true to themselves, disclosing their real self to others. Unwitting disclosure of what you don't want people to know, keeps people from allowing themselves to act in conjunction with who they really are. This keeps people from acting who they are and who they were designed to be in relationships with others, and allows their real selves to remain hidden in fear of people really learning who they are. When we are authentic being, we are being honest in one's relationship with others. We do not have to create a false perception of who we really are in our communication with others, but more often than not we do, to feel better about ourselves. We create the person we want others to see and know. Another key person was Erving Goffman, whose book, The Presentation of Self in Everyday Life, helped us learn or to understand how people act through theatrical metaphors. Just like actors who step out onto a stage to play a performance, we often put a performance on in front of others. When we come into any situation, we put on a performance of ourselves. We put on what we want others to see. It doesn't necessarily display who we really are, it's who we want others to know. I have said that when an individual appears before others in his actions will influence the definition of the situation which they come to have, as Goffman said. Man is able to be one thing to himself and another's in front of his others. That is one of the things Goffman said, which was why using actors in a performance was very important. We as human beings have the ability to alter who we really are for other people's benefits, not necessarily ours. I really believe how we treat others is a direct reflection of how we feel about ourselves. When we communicate with others, we bring ourselves to the communication. We bring ourselves to the exchange and to the encounter that we want. We have the ability to be true to who we are, and we have the ability to let others know us for who we really are. Oftentimes, we don't bring that person to an encounter, but people need to realize in order to have authentic relationships, it's important to be who you really are. We are all uniquely created for a purpose in our lifetime. When we hide who we really are for others to see, we limit the possibility and the genuine relationships life has to offer us. Rather than mask our innate self, we should be accepting of who we are and outwardly authentic to everyone in life. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation and authentic in your relationships.